It has to do with Tucker rewriting history and all that type of stuff. So I'm sure this will make some people a little hot under the collar. But I've had no issues calling out Tucker Carlson. I believe that he's controlled opposition. He's fully involved with what's going on. And I believe that he is part of the psyop that's being done. And I know a lot of people say he's a good guy, he's a conservative guy, Christian guy, and all that stuff. I say take a step back, Jack. And so he had recently on his podcast this quote unquote historian by the name of Darryl Cooper. And so you could see here on X, Twitter, whatever, Tucker Carlson hosts quote unquote historian who says the Nazis didn't mean for the Holocaust to happen. And we could see here posted from Tucker from the podcast thing. It says Darryl Cooper may be the best and most honest popular historian in the United States. His latest project is the most forbidden of all, trying to understand World War II. Oh, yeah. This is great. I don't know how many people saw this, but it ain't good. So it says, I just picked out a few things. He said, Darryl Cooper said, in 1941, they launched a war where they were completely unprepared to deal with the millions and millions of prisoners of war, of local political prisoners. He said during the 138-minute conversation. Cooper then suggested that the murder of millions in the camps was an unintended consequence of Hitler's unpreparedness for war, contradicting documented historical fact that it was the explicit goal of the Nazi regime's final solution and carried out through a vast system of mass murder and included extermination camps, gas chambers, military units dedicated to mass executions and firing squads. Yes, Darryl Cooper, this quote-unquote historian that Tucker Carlson repeatedly sang his praises and endorsed him and promoted him, believes that it was an accident that the Nazis committed the Holocaust. And it was not the Nazis' plan to do that. Wow. You want to talk about twisting history. History says otherwise, especially when you see that IBM designed the first tagging system for the Nazis to determine who was a Jew and who was not, which was part of their Holocaust design. But where does that history? I'm sure he's got some twisting of words to make that fit too. It says they went in with no plan for that. They just threw these people into camps and millions of people ended up dead there. Wow, that's just crazy happenstance. Cooper told Carlson on the episode, which was posted on Monday, it was part of a larger argument Cooper made that British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, rather than Hitler, was the chief villain of World War II because he was primarily responsible for that war becoming what it did, becoming something other than an invasion of Poland. Okay. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. So later, Cooper suggested that Britain's entry into the war was motivated by people, the financiers, by a media complex that wanted to make sure Churchill was the guy who was representing Britain in that conflict for a reason. He also postulated that Churchill's embrace of Zionism benefited him financially. You read stories about Churchill going bankrupt and needing money, getting bailed out by people who shared his interest in terms of Zionism, he said. Okay. There's a lot of mixing of stuff. Okay, I'll just say this. Both Churchill and Hitler were horrible people who were fully being backed and financed by the bankers. We just like the Bolshevik Revolution and World War I, World War II as well was all backed by the bankers and stuff like that. And when they talk about Zionism, they're talking about the political Zionism, not the biblical Zionism. As if you're a Christian, then we are Christian Zionists. That's how it is. But I strongly urge, and I tell people to make sure you separate that from political Zionism. It's simply put, because we're not going to do a huge deep dive into that. Simply put, it's the same reason why I tell people to try and split God's people and God's land of Israel, as opposed to the political leaders and the government of Israel. Those are two completely different entities. One is biblical Zionism. The other is Political Zionism, two completely different things. And so it's the same thing when it comes to this. And so we know with families like the Rothschilds and so forth, kind of gnat flying around my face. That's part of the political Zionism that are indeed funding this type of stuff. I've gone over stuff through in different podcasts, giving evidence and factual proof that that's what's going on. And so it's kind of a mix going on, but this idea here that he's trying to push through that it's an accident and he's apologizing and defending Hitler is just so woohoo out there and so false. And it's having a major turn on the minds of people. We'll get to that in just a second. We will get to that in just a second. Let's see here. This is his interview with Carlson, whose account has more than 13.7 million followers, compared to around 251,000 for Cooper's own account. Martyr Made gave his views a massive platform. Carlson did not push back on Cooper's Holocaust claims and praised him repeatedly, telling him, "I think you are a most important popular historian working in the United States today." Later, he endorsed Cooper's claims. People can certainly take issue with any factual claims you're making. I assume they're all right, Carlson said. They're consistent with what I think I know to be true. How many of you guys out there in the conservative groups knew that Tucker Carlson was a defender of Hitler? Fascinating. The absolutely evil who's got his own presidential suite in hell, Hitler, and that the Holocaust was just an accident. Oh, they didn't mean for that to happen. But I thought this dude was great. Why is he great? Oh, that's right. He endorses Trump, so that automatically makes him great. I forgot that's how it works in the conservative sphere of things. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that Darryl Cooper has put out, shall we? Martyr Made, this is his account, says, "No God in any religious tradition is as consistently brutal and bloodthirsty as Yahweh of the Old Testament. That includes the various war gods, the deities of people like the Aztecs. Christianity has lost influence in part because Christians refuse to reckon with it, instead twisting themselves into knots to justify genocide, rape, incest, etc." Youch! Wow. What a guy to have on your platform, Tucker. Mr. Conservative Christian Tucker. Yeah, you endorsing that, huh? Well, this guy over here said, what important truth do very few people agree with you on? Well, he decided God is the villain in the book of Job. Wow. Did you guys know that God was the villain and is worse off than many of the false pagan deities? Man, that's interesting. What else has he said? He actually deleted this one. I'm shocked. I managed to grab it before he deleted it. He said, "This may be putting it too crudely for some, but the picture on the left was infinitely preferable in virtually every way than the one on the right." Yeah. He says Hitler entering Paris is much more preferable than what's happening on the right. How about they're both equally abominations? See, this is I wasn't going to take it here, but I'm going to take it here. I'm gonna. This is one of the biggest problems that we have with the human mind thinking today, where one has to be worse than the other, and so that is obviously the right choice. Choosing, what's that called? The lesser of two evils. Where have we heard that before? The fact is, both can be equally abominable in their own way. And that makes them both evil. Because I can sit here and tell you, is it this one? Yeah. That the one on the left and the one on the right are both equally abominable in their own ways. Why do we have to choose? We don't. Like, I don't understand it. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not, saying some people are worse off than others. All I'm saying is this is a mindset that has just slowly creeped in into the church specifically. I know this is something that's been going on since the beginning of history, honestly. But I'm seeing it more and more in this church where it's just, well, the lesser. We have to choose one. So in my mind, I'm going to go with what is the worst that is presented of the two bad options in front of me. It's like, why are we playing that game? Why can't we just sit there and call a spade a spade? That's what God does when it comes to sin, right? He just calls a spade a spade. That's a sin. That's a sin. That's a sin. And that's a sin. Oh, that over there that you call just a little sin, not as big as the other sin. No, that's a sin. So why can't we look at those two options and go, they're both equally abominable? Because they are, just in their own way. It's just this idea that we have to have a scale that is the best way to introduce compromise on biblical values, in my opinion. That is truly the best way, is having that gray area rather than just have a black and white. The moment you start allowing a gray area, guess what doesn't have the gray area, guys? I know this is crazy. It's going to blow your mind. The Bible. There's no gray area. It's black and white. Why do we have to have a gray area? Why do we have to have a scale? I don't know. That's just some. And then we can see here with this other one that he did. Says, if you're having a bad day, just remember that the Trump shooter is currently wandering around hell looking for Hitler, while the two guys Kyle Rittenhouse dropped figure out how to break the news to him. Basically, what he's saying is the Trump shooter is in hell. He can't find Hitler because Hitler isn't there. That's that guy. That is the guy that Tucker decided to have on his program to defend Hitler, to call the Holocaust an accident, and for him to sit there to promote, endorse, praise, and recommend him to his followers. Fascinating. Fascinating. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out here. Let's do a little, we're not going to do in-depth, not a deep dive, just the basic characteristics of Tucker Carlson and his dad. Let's just take a look. Dick Carlson, Tucker Carlson's dad. He was the director of Voice of America. Do you guys know what that is? That was a created, funded, and teamed up operation with the CIA and United States government in order to deliver news during the time, the later years of the Cold War. Major project of Mockingbird. Did you know that Tucker Carlson's dad was the director of that? He was also involved with the United States Information Agency, which was also included that Voice of America program, which was involved. And Ronald Reagan actually advocated for Dick Carlson to lead the United States, to be the director of the United States Information Agency. He was also promoted to be the ambassador to Seychelles. Did you know that Dick Carlson was all wrapped up in the CIA and had many CIA friends and was directing the Operation Mockingbird of Voice of America? And then we got Tucker Carlson, his son, who, did you know that he applied to the CIA in college? His senior year in college, he applied to the CIA. Never confirmed nor deny that he was rejected or introduced. He just said that he applied for it. This is his own words. You can find him being asked this question. He also had major connections to his father's CIA friends. He was constantly interacting with them, hearing the stories from his friends who were operatives in the CIA. But he just happens to be the leading voice in quote unquote conservative media now. You know, this is something that I talk about a lot on this channel. I mean, I talk about it a lot. And it has to do with the fact that deception is not something that we can sit here, point to the left, and go, deception. Because we're not being deceived by it. We're not being deceived by it. We know what they're doing. We see the evil that's coming out of them. We see the agenda that they're a part of. That's not deception. That's not being deceived, for us at least. No, the deception is best used and the most and the most strong when it's in the camp that you already agree with. But you see, you can't do that. It's like the cognitive dissonance. It's just the moment somebody comes against somebody that I believe is truthful because he's a part of the camp that I'm in and he says a bunch of stuff that I like, I'm going in defense mode. I'm shutting down, going in defense mode. I don't want to hear anything that you have to say. I don't want to see anything that you have to provide. I don't want facts. I just want to defend my feelings. The deception comes from the camp that you most believe in. And this is something I learned the hard way through many years. It's not fun. And I'm not sitting here telling you that it's fun or easy. But I am sitting here telling you that the biggest deception is going on in the camp of the conservative and Christian communities. Because of people like Tucker Carlson, who has roots that go deep into the CIA and psychological warfare and mockingbird programs, who all of a sudden just happens to come out of nowhere as this giant conservative leader who many Christians get their news from and promotes, but yet he has people on like Mr. Hitler defender there who says God was the villain. And he promotes it. You tell me what's deception. Seriously, tell me. Tucker Carlson is somebody that I've warned about for a long time. Said avoid this dude. He's doing damage. And he is. Because what came out of that podcast sparked a giant wave of people coming out in support of defending Hitler and saying that the Holocaust was a lie. Now, we saw that stuff coming out already, but this just started a brand new wave of it. Satan is loving it. Because that's exactly what he wants. You don't think Tucker Carlson knows what he's doing? You think he's lost his mind or he went off the rails? No, he's very much on the rails and has been on the rails because he's controlled opposition. This is accomplishing so much. But people look past it. Same thing with Elon Musk. Oh, but he's on Twitter and you got Brazil coming after him because he's free speech advocate and all this type of stuff. No, we don't care that he's got CureVac. We don't care that he's got AI Grok. We don't care that he dresses up as the warrior for Satan. We don't care that he's trying to put brain chips in people's heads. We don't care that he's trying to create the Chinese WeChat copycat everything app to take over half of the banking system in the United States. We don't care that he's got Starlink, which is the perfect web for online connectivity for the B system. We don't care about that. Free speech. Same thing with Tucker Carlson. Same thing with like Charlie Kirk stuff. These guys are not your friends, but yet we just open up the door. Come on in the church. And when you ask him, why are you doing that? Oh, because they like Trump. And then I get called the deceiver. I love it. I love it.